Solarcon A99 Ham CB Commercial Fiberglass Omnidirectional Base Station Antenna. CB Ham Radio Base Station Antenna. Your Solarcon CB Ham Base Station Antenna comes in 3 easy-to-assemble sections and covers far above and below traditional CB channels. You can also use your antenna for international, commercial, and 10-meter amateur radio operation with up to 2,000 watts. Twin ring tuning makes it easy to tune the input to the antenna for the optimum standing wave ratio, SWR, over a range of frequencies. The antenna is designed as a half wave over a quarter wave variable mutual transductance tuned antenna. Before you begin installation, read this manual and the separate Consumer Product Safety Commission information sheet. For your safety and convenience, plan each step of the installation in advance. Warning: when you install an outdoor antenna, use extreme caution. If the antenna starts to fall, let it go. It could contact overhead power lines. If the antenna touches the power line, contact with the antenna mast, cable, or guy wires can cause electrocution and death. Call the power company to remove the antenna. Do not attempt to remove it yourself. Assembling the antenna. We recommend you assemble the antenna on the ground in a flat, open area. Follow these steps to assemble the antenna using the supplied hardware. Slip a 3/8-inch lock washer, A, over the threaded end of the small top section. I guess that's A, B, and this is section B. So slip this lock washer A underneath the top section B. Then turn the section clockwise and connect it tightly to the middle section C. Slip a 1/2-inch lock washer D over the threaded end of the middle section C. Then turn that section clockwise and connect it tightly to the bottom section E. Using the supplied hardware, you can easily mount your antenna to a mast not supplied, a building's vent pipe, or other stationary object. Note: for the best performance, mount your antenna at least 9 feet above the roof of the nearest building and 18 feet above or away from any metal object or structure. Place the supplied U-bolts, F, U-bolt there and there, around the bottom section of the antenna and the mounting location. Number 2, slide a clamp G over the U-bolt, then slide a lock washer H over the end of each bolt. To fasten the U-bolts in place, tighten the supplied hex nuts I tightly over the ends of each U-bolt. Cautions: be careful not to over-tighten the hex nuts, otherwise you might damage the antenna. Do not use chalk or silicone sealant around any part of your antenna, otherwise moisture might not drain properly from around the antenna. This could damage the antenna or cause it to work improperly. Tuning the antenna. Follow these steps to prepare your antenna and tune it with an SWR meter, not supplied, for use with radio equipment. Note: your antenna is pre-tuned to the middle of the CB band, 27.205 MHz, for the lowest SWR standing wave ratio. No tuning is necessary to use your antenna with a CB. So it's saying you don't even have to tune these. Although I think that's the tuner there. Look up the frequency you use most often in the frequency antenna length table on page 6. Then carefully measure and cut off the recommended length of the antenna's top section. So I've jumped down, and here's page 6. So it's recommending cutting off sections of the antenna, which is kind of crazy. I've seen replacement top sections before that are available that you can purchase, particularly ones that aren't so flexible. So I suppose if you screw this up, you could probably purchase another top section, although I don't know what that costs. Important: be sure you cut off only the length recommended to operate on the desired frequency. If you cut off too much of the antenna, you might need to replace the antenna's top section to receive some lower frequency. If needed, you can purchase a replacement top section through your dealer. Note: no cutting is needed to operate your antenna at 10 to 20 meters if you use an antenna tuner. Using an SWR meter, check the SWR at the top and bottom of the band. Notes: if you are using a watt meter, the meter should read full output power at the transmitter and calibration in the SWR position. SWR should be low, preferably 2 to 1 or less. The best place to check SWR is at the antenna's coaxial connection, I guess down here. You can also check SWR at the transmitter's coaxial connection, so at your CB radio or maybe even linear amp. I'm not 100% sure of this myself yet. If the SWR is higher at the top of the band than it is at the bottom, turn both tuning rings a quarter to a half turn counterclockwise to raise them. So these are the tuning rings. I saw one video where the guy just tuned the rings to the top for best performance, and he was getting SWR of about 1.2 to 1.5, ranging in all the different channels on 10 meter. Note: for frequencies higher than 31.571 MHz, position the tuning rings at the top of the threaded section, then skip to step 5. Repeat steps 1 and 2 until the SWR reading is the lowest possible at both ends of the band. To lock the tuning rings, so here's the tuning rings. To lock the tuning rings in place, turn the top ring clockwise and the bottom ring counterclockwise so they rest tightly against each other. Troubleshooting: if you are unable to obtain an acceptable SWR reading from your antenna, follow these suggestions to see if you can eliminate the problem. If you are unable to eliminate the problem, contact your dealer for assistance. Be sure the that's not helpful. Who's the dealer? Amazon? Is Amazon going to be helpful with helping you tune your antenna? Be sure the SWR equipment is working properly. Check the SWR meter's owner's manual for assistance in operating it. Be sure the antenna's grounding location is grounded properly. Be sure the antenna is installed at least 9 feet above the roof of the nearest building and at least 18 feet above or away from any other metal objects in the area. Check the coaxial cable and all of its connections. Be sure the cable is not pinched, shorted, broken, or kinked. Be sure any excess coaxial cable is not coiled, causing excess SWR. Check the equipment installation sequence and be sure the amplifier is not installed out of phase. If you installed an optional ground plane kit on the antenna, be sure the radials are at least 9 feet above the roof. Be sure that no water is standing around the base of the antenna and that no caulk or silicone sealant has been used around the bottom of the antenna. Tips for eliminating RFI. Your transceiver and antenna system might cause TV or radio frequency interference, RFI, even when it is operating properly. To determine whether your system is causing the interference, turn off the transceiver connected to the antenna. If the interference goes away, your system is causing it. Try one or more of the following suggestions to eliminate the interference. Be sure the mast or mounting location is grounded properly. Purchase a high-quality low-pass filter like the Solarcon's LP99. Check the transceiver to be sure it's operating properly. If you are unable to eliminate the interference, contact your dealer for assistance. Specifications: maximum power 2000 watts, decibel gain 9.9, optimum SWR range less than 1.51. Dimensions: height and diameter. It's 17 feet, 4.5 inches, and 1 3/4 inches. What's that? Well, I don't know what that symbol is. Diameter or radius? 5.3 meters by 33 meters. Weight is 5 pounds. Supplied hardware: lock washers, U-bolts, clamps, and hex nuts. And it's got the quantity of each. Specifications are typical, but individual units may vary. Specifications are subject to change and improvement without notice. Frequency antenna length table. So this is operating well above the 10 meter band, but I guess it's talking about cutting your antenna down, or at least the top section of the antenna. GPK1 ground plane kit for A99. Installation instructions. Note: radials must be 9 feet above or away from any existing structure for maximum performance. Insert aluminum bottom tube into ground plane collar and raise collar to the base of plastic threaded section. Tighten the screw set. Install 4 fiberglass radials. Install the A99. So the ground plane kit looks like it's installed right in here, which I guess on this diagram would be right in the grounding plane would go right in here. I'll just start again. Number 1, insert aluminum bottom tube into ground plane collar and raise collar to the base of plastic threaded section. Tighten the set screw. Install the 4 fiberglass radials. Install the A99. Be careful not to strip the threads. So I guess this fits in the recording screen. Okay, so for a flat roof and a rafter, here's a mast and a multi-angle mount and a rafter. So this is for like a peaked roof or a flat roof. These aren't really the most detailed or best pictures. The safe distance from power lines is at least twice the combined height of the antenna and mast. Pause and think about that. Chimney mounting method. The chimney is often used as an easy and convenient mounting place, but the chimney must be strong enough to support the antenna in high winds. Do not use a chimney that has loose bricks or mortar. A good chimney mount includes a 5 or 10 foot 1 1/4 inch diameter steel mast and a heavy-duty 2-strap clamp type bracket. Install the upper bracket just below the top course of bricks and the lower bracket 2 or 3 feet below the upper bracket. For maximum strength, space the brackets as far apart as possible. Note: guy wires are highly desirable on chimney mounts. The safe distance from power lines is at least twice the combined height of the antenna and mast. Static discharge unit. Well, maybe I'll read all these. CB antenna. Here's a mast. Here's a grounding wire. And here's a grounding rod in the ground. Rain drip Not sure what the rain drip loop does, but it's somehow attached to a static discharge unit, cold water pipe, or ground rod. So I don't know, maybe you're watching, you know better than I do, but you're grounding it here, why do you have to ground it again? Side of the house mounting method. Where roof overhang is not excessive, the side of the house provides a convenient mounting location. Position the brackets over a stud, if possible, and above the other, and space them 2 or 3 feet apart. For metal siding, first mark mounting holes, then drill pilot holes through the siding to accept mounting screws. Careful, there are wires in that wall. Okay, so over here, these mounting structures can be freestanding or alongside of a building. Refer to the manufacturer's installation instructions. Tower, self-supporting style. This is one of these old, almost like TV antenna towers. A telescopic mast, side view. And here's guy wires, which I guess is like a bird's eye view, looking at these guy wires. Guy wires should be equally spaced in at least 3 directions. Use at least 3 guy wires for each 10-foot section of mast. Warning: do not install the antenna near power lines for your safety. Follow all installation instructions. Contact between the antenna and a power line is dangerous and must be avoided. Warning: under some conditions, this antenna may not prevent electrocution. Users should keep this antenna away from any overhead electric power lines. If the antenna contacts a power line, any initial protection could fail at any time. If the antenna nears any overhead power lines, immediately let go and stay away and call your utility company. Warning: installation of this product near power lines is dangerous. For your safety, follow all installation directions. Tips on how to safely install your antenna, in accordance with the recommendations of the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission. These safety recommendations are for use with Citizens Band base station antennas. Installation instructions. I feel like this was kind of covered already. But anyway, installation instructions. I'll try to read this quickly. Your antenna, and safety. Each year, hundreds of people are killed, mutilated, or receive severe permanent injuries while attempting to install an antenna. In many of these cases, the victim was aware of the danger of electrocution, but did not take adequate steps to avoid the hazard. For your safety and to help you achieve good installation, please read and follow the safety precautions below. They may save your life. If you are installing an antenna for the first time, please, for your own safety as well as for others, seek professional assistance. Consult your dealer. Was that at Amazon? They can explain which mounting method to use for the size and type of antenna you are about to install. Select your installation site with safety as well as performance in mind. Detailed information on site selections appears below. Remember, electric power lines and telephone lines look alike. For your safety, assume that any overhead lines can kill you. Call your electric power company, tell them your plans, and ask them to come look at your proposed installation. Yeah, right. Sorry, I know you don't want to. The listener doesn't want to hear sarcasm, but this day and age, they probably just wouldn't let you do anything. This is a small inconvenience considering your life is at stake. Plan your installation procedure carefully and completely before you begin. Successful raising of a mast or tower is largely a matter of coordination. Each person should be assigned a specific task and should know what to do when to do it. One person should be designated as the boss of the operation to call out instructions and watch for signs of trouble. When installing your antenna, remember, do not use a metal ladder and do not work on a wet or windy day. Increase your personal safety by dressing properly for installation, i.e. wearing shoes with rubber soles and heels, rubber gloves, and a long-sleeve shirt or jacket. If the assembly starts to drop, get away from it and let it fall. Remember, the antenna, mast, cable, and metal guy wires are all excellent conductors of electrical current. Even the slightest touch of any of these parts to a power line completes an electrical path through the antenna and the installer. If any part of the Any part of the antenna system should come in contact with a power line, don't touch it or try to remove it yourself. Call your local power company and they will remove it safely. If an accident should occur and the victim is in contact with live wires, do not touch them. Move the victim away from contact using dry wood boards, wooden broomsticks, dry rope, or a sheet or blanket. If breathing has ceased, begin artificial respiration and call for medical help immediately. Site selection. Before attempting to install your antenna, think where you can best place it for safety and performance. Determine a safe distance from wires, power lines, and trees. Measure the height of your antenna. Add the length to the length of your tower or mast. Double this total for the minimum recommended safe distance. Avoid this location. The safe distance from power lines is at least twice the combined height of the antenna and mast. Safer location. If you are unable to maintain this safe distance, stop, get professional help. Most antennas are supported by pipe masts attached to the chimney, roof, or side of the house. Generally, the higher the antenna is above ground, the better it performs. Good practice is to install your vertical antenna about 5 to 10 feet above the roof line and away from power lines and obstructions. Remember that the FCC limits your antenna height to 60 feet. If possible, find a mounting place directly above your set where the antenna wire can take a short vertical drop on the outside of the house for entry through a wall or window near the set. Your dealer carries a complete line of installation hardware. Installation of this product near power lines is dangerous. For safety, follow the installation directions. Example of antenna grounding as per National Electrical Code instructions. Use number 10 copper or number 8 AWG aluminum or number 10 AWG copper-clad steel or bronze wire or larger as ground wires for both mast and lead in security clamp the wire to the bottom of the mast. Down lead or lead in wire C, A, and B. Mast ground wire C, A, and B. Antenna discharge unit CC. Ground wire. Ground clamps. Suitable grounding electrode driven 8 feet into the earth. Caution, avoid underground power cables and then I guess it goes into the description. A. To the transceiver. Okay, so B is secure the lead in wire from the antenna to the antenna discharge unit and the mast ground wire to the house with the standoff insulators spaced from 4 feet to 6 feet apart. Mount the antenna discharge unit as close as possible to where the lead wire centers the house. That's not that clear. Anyway, general installation instructions for mast-mounted antennas. Assemble your new antenna on the ground at the installation site. Keep separate assembly instructions that come with it. On the ground, clamp the antenna to the mast, pull enough coaxial cable, and connect it to the antenna. To ensure that a mast does not fall the wrong way, if it should get away from you during installation or takedown, durable non-conductive rope should be secured at each 2-foot level as the mast is raised. The boss stands in the position where he can yank or pull the ropes if the needs arise to deflect the falling mast away from hazards, such as power lines, into a safe fall, such as a yard or a driveway. The ropes are tied taut and at the base of the mast after installation and in a place at the various levels. Install the selected mounting bracket. If you are going to use guy wires installation instead of mounting bracket, install guy anchor bolts. Estimate and cut the needed length of a guy wire. Attach a mast using a guy ring. Carefully take the antenna and the mast assembly to the mounting bracket and insert it. Tighten the clamp bolts. In the case of guyed installation, you must have at least a second person hold the mast upright while the guy wires are attached and tightened to the anchor bolts. Install the self-adhering danger label packaged in the antenna hardware kit at eye level on your mast. Install a ground rod to a drain or static electricity buildup. Install a ground rod to drain off static electricity buildup and connect a ground wire to the mast and ground rod. Use special ground rods, not a spare piece of pipe. See example of antenna grounding. Drill a hole in the wall. Careful, there are wires in that wall. Near the set, just large enough to permit entry of the cables. Push the cable through the hole and form a rain drip loop close to where it enters the house. Put a small amount of caulking around the cable where it enters the house to keep out drafts. Install a static electricity discharge unit. Connect the antenna cable to your set. Choose a proper support and mounting method. For tripods and telescoping masts, towers, refer to the manufacturer's installation instructions. A water pipe is not a suitable mast for antenna installation. There are three types of supporting structures commonly used in antenna installation. Illustrations of these devices and various mounting methods follow. A tripod, multi-angle roof unit. Here's the CB antenna. Here's the mast. Here's a guy wire and an eye bolt. Okay, so I guess I learned something. You can have a angled roof mount and actually attach guy wires, but on a roof. I've never seen it done that way. Roof mounting method. Let's see. The swivel feature of universal type mounting brackets makes a convenient antenna mount for flat or peaked roofs. One clamp type bracket is used with 3 or 4 guy wires equally spaced around the mast and anchored to the roof or eaves by eye bolts. Apply roofing compound around the base of the bracket screws and eye bolts for moisture sealing.